Hello, friends. It's always good to have a chance to be able to speak with you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're not wearing down. Hope you're staying healthy and following all the guidelines, and that you're finding great solace staying at home and being with your family and experiencing the love and goodness that exists there. I want to share with you, things are getting tougher, and the road ahead is going to be very difficult. And we all know where it's leading. I'm not so much talking about the pandemic situation. I'm talking about where we are on our journey with Christ through Lent. The readings these days have that sense of ominence to them that Christ is heading for something that's very, very difficult. And yet we do know where it ends. It doesn't end on Calvary. It doesn't end with death. It's through that cross. It ends with new life. And never lose sight of that. And although our calendars may not be exactly aligned, from things that we hear, we're in for some difficult days, but it won't end there. It ends with new life, and always trust that and hold that as our ultimate source for hope. I suppose as things get rough, whether it be for Christ, his followers, for us during this extraordinary time, there are a number of options that we can turn to. First of all, we can succumb to our fears and just turn in on ourselves and get nowhere. We can just do things our own way, throw caution to the wind, and say, as long as it's good for me, that's what I'm going to do. Or we can put our trust in a loving God who is guiding our way and promises to give us all that we need. As things got harder for Christ, as more and more people and events turned against him, he only got stronger, more resolved, and more trusting in his Father's will and in his Father's love. And that's the spirit that I hope all of us will have, especially now as we enter into the holiest of all weeks. In today's readings, there was one word that really struck me and jumped out at me, and it's the word covenant. Covenant means that God has promised us his unconditional, limitless, forever love. There are no conditions or limits on God's love. It is always there. We even prayed in our responsorial psalm, and I really thank all those who are praying with us by way of the videotapes, the daily Mass, and especially the Sunday Mass. We prayed together, the Lord remembers his covenant forever. Hold on to that. Hold on to that, because for Christ, for us as his followers, and for our world, things may get tougher, but we know how it ends. It ends with new life. So as we look toward Holy Week, I just want to share with you some of the specifics that I think can be really helpful to all of us and ways that can unite all of us in this Holy of All Weeks. Obviously, it's going to be very different this year. A Holy Week like we have never experienced before and most likely never will. But what I want to remind us all is that the realities are still the same. How we celebrate them may be different. What we celebrate is the same. And perhaps because we are challenged by the differences and the things that we must do differently this week, perhaps we have the opportunity to go even deeper into the meaning and allow its effects to touch us even more than they ever have before. So the first thing I want to share with you is that we are doing our best to communicate all these events of Holy Week to you in every way that we can. In our weekly bulletin, which you can get a hard copy of, but that is also online, there is a full schedule of Holy Week events. Also on our website, which you can get the bulletin on that, in s'mores, emails, other means of communications. It's all there, and including this message today. I just want to go over it with you a little bit. So please do your very best to get the information and make the very best use of it. We're going to start out, obviously, with what's commonly called Palm Sunday. More properly, it's Passion Sunday. And this year, particularly, we will see that difference a little bit more. So as far as the palms go, we are going to bless them Saturday during the day out at the pavilion. And it will be taped so that you can pray along with us. It will be something we do in private, but a way in which we bless all the palms. And then we are inviting you to come to receive your palms at specified times on Saturday evening and on Sunday morning. So on Saturday evening, it will be between the hours of 5 and 6 o'clock. And on Sunday morning, it will be between 9 and 12 o'clock. And this will take place out at the pavilion. One of the things that we really need to be conscious of is to continue to maintain social distancing. In the parking lot, our maintenance people will have cones up so that parking is spaced properly. And then when we come to the pavilion, there will be an orderly way in which we do actually a number of things. But I think the temptation is going to be when we see people we haven't seen for a while, and I know how much we miss each other, to perhaps congregate and forget about that need for social distancing. So we need to do everything we can to make this as safe and as health conscious as we can, and we just rely on your good judgment to do that. But what will take place at the pavilion are a number of things. First and foremost, to receive your palms, and we will hand them to you. Our staff members will all have gloves on and just hand them to you. Just take them. I'm sure we will have plenty, so take what you need, and please take what you get. Sometimes people pick through them just to make sure they have just the right ones to make their crosses and things like that. Please just take what you get and make the best of them. Secondly, there will actually be a fire off to the side where you can bring your old palms if you haven't yet, and we'll just throw them right into the fire. As you know, the ashes we use for Ash Wednesday are made from the old palms that have been burned. Many years ago, we thought that would be a really neat idea for us to do it in a kind of a prayer service. Well, it doesn't work. They obviously do something with those burned palms to keep them from being so gritty and so on. So they're not going to be used for Ash Wednesday, but they need to be burned nevertheless. In addition to receiving palms on Saturday evening or Sunday morning, there are a number of other things that are possible for you. If you've been using the rice bowl during Lent, and if you have, thank you. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. There will be a big container for you just to place your rice bowl in there. We'll just take care of the money at a later time. We also will have some other things available for you. The little white books for the Easter season. If you would like one, just take it. We're not going to charge you for it. Just take it and use it. I also have another book about hope. A limited amount of them, but if they are still available and you would like to take one, it's a Matthew Kelly book. It has writings in it from Pope Francis and Archbishop Gomez and others. Really a nice little book. If there are still copies of that, please feel free to take one. There will be the hard copy of the Holy Week Bulletin that will be available if you would like to take one, if you're not used to getting one online. There will also be a place to bring your church collection envelopes, whether it be for Palm Sunday or for Easter, your Easter gift, whatever it might be. And I thank you in advance for that. We are really doing our very best to try to manage our financial situation. Like for you, it's very, very tricky. We're doing everything we can to curtail as many expenses as we can. There are some major expenses that we can defer somewhat, but defer means we still need to pay them, so we have to be careful on how much we defer. And there are some that we just need and want to pay, primarily our salaries and benefits for our teachers and employees who are continuing to work very hard to make sure we're doing our very best, especially during this time. So your Easter gift and your regular collections are just so valuable to us, and I thank you for that. Thank you for those who signed up to give online. That's always very helpful. It just gives us a much steadier stream of income. We will get through this, and we'll do everything we can to be really good stewards and really good financial managers. Our business manager, Linda, is here every day working out things with the diocese and with our own finances to make sure that we are as financially stable as possible, but we know that we can't do it without you, so thank you in advance. So that will be the Palm part of Palm Sunday. Out at the pavilion, Saturday evening, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and Sunday morning from 9 to 12. Then we will celebrate our regular Passion Sunday liturgy to begin Holy Week in the chapel, as we have been, a private liturgy that will be posted online for you to pray along with us from Saturday evening on. It usually gets up by, I would say, by 6 o'clock, usually sometimes a little earlier, but nevertheless by then. And the focus of that, of course, is the Passion of Christ, according to Matthew. And what I really want to encourage you to do is to relate as closely as you can all that we are going through now in our world situation with all that Christ went through in his own passion, suffering, and death. There are so many parallels, and most importantly, so many lessons. And the most important thing is we know how it ends. Never lose sight of that. So that will be our Passion Sunday liturgy, and we'll also add Sunday night prayer as we did last week, a beautiful way to end the day and to really, again, keep this as a very holy week. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we will celebrate private Mass in the chapel as we have been. We celebrate that Mass usually at 9, so it's up online usually right around 10. These are important liturgies, very powerful and important readings. So if at all possible, find some time with your family to sit down and pray with us during that liturgy. A number of people, many of you, have actually emailed or texted us and saying how much they appreciate these daily liturgies, how much they value them. And people have even texted pictures of their families sitting together around the television together, partaking of these masses and hopefully allowing God to work through these means during these extraordinary times. So that will be as usual. And then Wednesday evening, we will pray Tenebrae, and it also will be online, probably at the usual times. We're going to try to get everything up pretty close to the usual times they were scheduled. So Tenebrae will be available to you probably by 8 o'clock on Wednesday evening. And then we enter into the Triduum, the holiest days of the week. Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Easter, beginning with the Easter Vigil. It is so hard for all of us not to be able to do that together as a community. I know that, even though people say, well, you're lucky, you still get to do it. not having you there is so difficult and such a sacrifice. I just cannot share with you how much we miss our community being together. And perhaps most importantly, how much we will miss celebrating the rites of initiation with our elect and our candidates at the Easter Vigil. I know that it's really hard for them, but I know that we will, as soon as we are able and get directives from the diocese, celebrate their initiation into the church through baptism, confirmation, and Eucharist in a very appropriate way. We had a session with them online last night. We're doing our breaking of the word with them online. Maureen is going to do her retreat with them online this coming week. So we're doing our very best to keep in contact with them and helping them to continue to grow, to continue to hunger for those Easter sacraments. So, for the Triduum, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, culminating with Easter, we will still pray morning prayer as we always have in the past, and that will be online by approximately 9 a.m. Very special ways to pray, so I would really encourage you to pray as a family or as individuals that morning prayer, that liturgy of the hours. On Holy Thursday, we will celebrate the Mass of the Lord's Supper so that it's online at approximately 8 o'clock, the ordinary time that we gather. Obviously, it will be a little different this year, other than being online. We are not permitted to do the foot washing, nor could we. We would not have processions and those kind of things like we ordinarily do on Holy Thursday, but we will celebrate the Mass of the Lord's Supper. Kevin is preparing suitable music that we are able to do in the chapel. It will be familiar, simple, but very, very special and very, very sacred. And so I would really especially, these are the most important celebrations of the entire year, encourage you to share in the Mass of the Lord's Supper on Holy Thursday. Remember, how we're doing it may be different. What we're doing, the meaning of it, is the same. And there will be opportunities for us to wash feet in a number of ways. It's what Jesus meant when he said, go out and be a servant. Help one another. Do kinds of things that really bring God's love to other people. It's not just physically washing feet. It's being people of service, people who give their lives the way Jesus did. And we will continue to do that as you continue to do that right in your own homes and in every way that we can. And then later on that night, we will end with night prayer as we typically do. It'll probably be a little earlier than the midnight hour where it typically is, but nevertheless, a beautiful way to conclude the evening. Make it a very holy, holy Thursday. So, Good Friday. Again, we'll begin with morning prayer, and it'll be posted by about 9 o'clock. And then we will celebrate the central part of the day, and that is, it's the continuation of what we began on Holy Thursday, and that is the celebration of the Lord's Passion. Again, that will be up online by approximately 3 o'clock. It will be in chapel. The centerpiece of that is, of course, the reading of the Passion according to St. John. Again, take it very personally and relate it to all that you may be going through, that all of us are going through. There will be time for us, by way of video, to venerate the cross. We will have a cross in the chapel that we will spend some time just in silence from our places wherever we are, just adoring Christ for what he did for us on his cross and uniting with that cross our own crosses, all the sufferings and pains of our own crosses. And although we will do this online, this is something certainly that you can do in your home with your own crucifix or your own cross. Just take it and make it very visible and see it as the the whole center of Christ's love for us and our love for God, the way to eternal life. Venerating the cross has so much meaning. I will so miss that in our church today as people come up and they venerate the cross in so many ways. They either kiss it or bow to it or touch it or just unite their sufferings in some way with it or just adore and give thanks for what Christ did. It is so moving. But we can do that ourselves, each in our own ways and as a family, and it's just as meaningful, perhaps even more meaningful. And then there are a series of intercessions that we do, especially on Good Friday. And this year in particular, you might want to listen for this. The church has added, I think, an 11th intercession, especially for all those suffering from the coronavirus or illness. And certainly that should be a constant intercession in all of our lives. And the rest of the liturgy will go as usual. And then that will be it for Good Friday. We are not doing Stations of the Cross. It's just a little bit difficult to do that, not being in the main part of the church and just because of all the movement and so on. But that's certainly something you can do in your own home. People have said, well, I don't have a Stations book. Well, just think about each of the steps or whichever steps you can remember and put yourself in that position and just relate to it and be a part of it in any way that you can. Holy Saturday. Again, we'll begin with morning prayer at 9. Father Joe is still going to do online his presentation on Polish Easter customs, so look for that online. We will put in the bulletin, on the website, and in other places a way for you to bless your Easter foods at home. It really is not something you can do online, but it's something you can do in your home. And Father Joe has done a beautiful job in preparing those prayers for you. Again, they're in the bulletin, on the website, in a number of places. Especially if that's been a custom of your family, I would encourage you to continue that. And if it's not been a custom for your family, that might be a really nice thing to do. And then, most importantly, the Easter Vigil. It will be different. There will not be the fire and the procession and the lighting of candles. We will light the Easter candle, and it will shine brightly and beautifully in our chapel, not only for the Easter Vigil and Easter Sunday, but for the entire Easter season, as a reminder to us that Christ is risen. Christ is the light that dispels all darkness, And we cling to that light, and we ourselves are called to bring that light to the world. And so we will celebrate the Easter Vigil. We will continue, we will do the readings and the responses and prayers. We will not do the rites of initiation, as I mentioned. We will do those at a later time with our elect and candidates. We will renew our baptismal promises, and we will still celebrate the liturgy of the Eucharist as we have been, again, with appropriate and beautiful and sacred music, but with great joy. Great joy. So please join us. It'll probably be available online a little earlier than we would have started. We were going to start at 9 o'clock when everything is totally dark. We're going to tape it a little bit earlier. It'll probably be ready about 8 o'clock. So whenever is good for you, that Easter Vigil is just so special, regardless of how we're able to celebrate it. The meaning of it, it is the Queen of all liturgies, the most important liturgy that we celebrate the entire year. And then we also will celebrate an Easter Mass on Easter Sunday morning that will be online by 10. Again, with so much joy, so much hope, and so much trust in the risen Lord who guides us through these difficult and perilous times. That's Holy Week. And we will do, I think we're going to do night prayer also on Easter Sunday. After that, we'll continue celebrating the joy of the risen Lord with our daily Mass at the usual time. That will probably be typical to what we have been doing, but only with the spirit of Easter. We certainly pray that you, in your own ways, and according to all the guidelines that all of us must keep, will really feel the joy. Joy isn't something that comes from the outside in. Joy is something that God gives to our hearts and radiates out. So to one another and to everybody who is approaching this Holy Week and this wonderful Easter season, feel the joy. Christ is risen. Again, things may be getting difficult and are difficult, but we know how this ends. And that's what this whole week and this whole coming Easter season is all about. So please know that, and I speak for our entire pastoral staff, that our deepest prayers are with you now and always. I am so indebted, grateful, inspired by our staff who works so hard always, but especially through this time, to reach out to people, to bring faith lessons to our children at a distance, to do these kinds of videotapings, and to do whatever they can, whether it be at the food pantry, the care call ministry, or however it is, to do the kind of things that really keep God's love alive and keep us connected as a community. And I'm very grateful to you for all the ways you stay connected, for your prayers, your love, and for simply who you are, who we are, the Catholic community of St. Gabriel. So let's have a great Holy Week, and let's look toward this Easter season as our greatest strength, our greatest joy, and our greatest reason to have hope. May God bless you, and may you truly experience the joy of the risen Lord.